Welcome to the third installment of the Highlights Round, brought to you by the CSL along with MSI, Raid Call, and NCIX. In the next few minutes, we'll be bringing you a rundown of how the fourth and last qualifiers of the March Madness tournament played out so you can be ready to watch the most anticipated spring playoffs in esports history. The first match of the Qualifier 4's round of 8 was an absolutely insane game between Carleton's Katy Perry and the University of Chicago's Ursadon. Both competitors played cautiously throughout. Only one of the bases on Aquilon Waste was unmined by the end of the game. As the minutes ticked away, it appeared that Katy Perry was whittling down his Terran opponent little by little until a big engagement around the 30-minute mark. After some efficient trades, the Protoss player was able to use his 34 warp gates to remax almost instantaneously and clinch the victory from his Terran opponent. However, this would be Carleton's only win in the series, as Chicago would win 3-1. Game 1 of Twin Cities versus the University of Washington's Huskies was an equally amazing game on the same map. Twin Cities Vise and Washington's Root Caliber both started out very passively until Vise massed together a large flock of Mutalisks. However, Caliber's reaction matched near perfection as he switched from Robotics Tech to full Sky Toss. After devastating Vi's flock of Mutalisks, it was only a matter of time before Caliber took the game for Washington. This would be the start to a great number of wins for UW as they took the series 3-1. Later in the round of 8, the series between Columbia and RPI ended up being tied 2-2, forcing both teams into a nail-biting final ace match. Following the trend of famous female pop stars in the CSL, Columbia decided to send out Taylor Swift, while RPI send out You Only YOLO Once, resulting in an amazing TVT. Taylor Swift's aggressive opening destroyed a number of his opponent's workers, as well as a good part of his infrastructure, and later on, a huge contain on YOLO's main base propelled Taylor's lead even further. Around the 14-minute mark, YOLO decided to use his one YOLO card and pushed down the ramp to try to break it. Though he succeeded, it didn't matter in the end due to Taylor Swift's vastly superior army. This final win pushed Columbia into the round of 4, keeping the singer and her team's hopes alive for one more round. The round of 4 kicked off with the University of Chicago facing off against the University of Washington. While Chicago taking Game 1, all eyes fell on UW's Kawhi Rice and his new Zerg powers to take on Chicago's Gald on Whirlwind. With early aggression, Kawhi Rice managed to snipe 2 queens, but Glad still came out ahead in the trade, managing to score an early army lead that he maintained throughout. With superior numbers in the mirror build game, Glad 2 eked out little victories until the big engagement. Despite well-executed run-bys and counter-aggression, when the Muta vs. Muta engagement was settled, Glad stood firmly in the lead, pushing through to claim victory over UW's Kawhi Rice. With so much momentum building, the University of Chicago entered the 2v2 riding high and went on to close the series 3-0. Coming into the next series 1-1, the Columbia University and the University of San Diego 2v2 games came ready to play. In what is undoubtedly the craziest 2v2s the CSL has ever seen, Columbia's Benji and Penguin opted for a maxed out Sky Toss and Mech combo against the Swarm Host Infestor plus Terran Bio composition from UCSD's Snake and Skit. With the map split in half, waves of locusts cascading in towards siege tanks, Blue Flame Hellions, Void Rays, and Tempest, it appeared that the two teams were playing a high-tech version of tower defense. Inch by inch, Columbia advanced on UCSD, sniping bases and swarm hosts whenever possible, until finally the California team is forced to tap out. UCSD's top should have known that Columbia's Taylor Swift would be trouble when he walked in. With an early game siege tank contained, Taylor Swift netted himself a position where he could separate Top's army from his mining bases. After quite a few army trades and positional stalemates, both players decided that their base and their armies would never, ever getting back together again. The base trade commenced with Taylor Swift dropping the main and the production of Top, while Top targeted a planetary on the top right. With both players pushing towards the opposing natural expansion, Top knew the time had come. UCSD's Top threw out the GG, leaving Taylor Swift knowing that he is the reason for the teardrops on Top's keyboard. With a victory here, Columbia advances to join the 7 other playoff contenders. The eyes of the esports world often focus on Korea, but they are not the only country in Asia to produce a competitive StarCraft scene. The next obvious picks are China and Taiwan, home of players like Zhigao and Sen, but Japan, the country best known for its fighting gaming scene, is often overlooked. However, 3 weeks ago, on April 20th, Japan held its first ever collegiate StarCraft II event at the Esports Square in Tokyo, sponsored by the CSL. It was a 20-man single elimination event with a 30,000 yen prize, plus a 12,000 yen subsidized dinner for the event. The original live stream was only cast in Japanese, but the CSL acquired as many replays from the event as possible and cast the highlights from the tournament on May 4th. The first half of the show was casting with analysis of the Japanese scene, its players, and their styles. And the second half was traditional shoutcasting by Quantic's Daniel Cheesehead Logic Poly. The Terran player Diago Nemook Ozaki won the tournament, taking home a cool 15,000 yen prize. In more community news, on Thursday, May 2nd, the University of Minnesota's gaming club, rebranded Glitch Gaming, announced several new perks for players competing in their StarCraft II and League of Legends CSL teams. The club is going to pay for travel and tournament expenses for its players and provide custom jerseys and overlays for them as well. However, the biggest announcement was the $2,000 scholarship for their very best players. This marks the first time a university-run club has offered substantial scholarship money to students. In the past, the CSL has been the only organization to do so. An exciting week for the collegiate scene only continued as UC Berkeley's Conan Seppi Lui and Zhifeng Hello Kitty Wong from the University of Texas Austin went up against Rung and Hart in Group D of the WCS American Premier League. Seppi took down Hart 2-0 in an electrifying match on Belshire Vestige, where both players tore down each other's economies, leading to a late-game low-econ situation where one of Seppi's Ultralists received 23 transfusions to survive. Seppi also 2-0'd Ryung to leave first in the group and be one of the only few foreigners left in the WCS North American Round of 16. Hello Kitty unfortunately did not make it out of the Group D. He beat Hart 2-1, starting the series down 0-1 but rallying to take games 2 and 3. In the end, he lost 0-2 to Ryung, but left a great impression on StarCraft fans everywhere for his tenacity. With the playoffs kicking into high gear, there'll be plenty of Collegiate Star League action to hold you out through the month of May. Our top 8 schools are clawing at their chance to be called spring champions and claim the prize pool of $2,000. Will CSA mainstays UC Irvine come out strong, or will their California brothers UC Davis have the upper hand? Will the University of Western Ontario snag it for the Great White North, or will the University of Chicago take it for America? There's plenty of East Coast action with Georgia Tech, Columbia University, and the University of Maryland College Park in the mix, but don't forget we have last season's winners, UC Berkeley, still in contention. Only time will tell who the victors will be, but don't wait to find out. Tune in next week for our Twitch TV channel for all the action as it unfolds. See you next time on the Highlight Round.